Okay. Good morning, everyone. My talk is going to cover the following aspects. Firstly, we are looking at what are the deep vascular changes in the glaucoma, what is the prevalence of microvascular dropout in different types of glaucoma, and how is this microvascular dropout is associated with progressive structural changes and functional changes. So to answer the first question, sorry, my slides are not moving.
You should use that arrow there. See, there's an arrow in the left bottom. Can you see on your slide?
Yes.
Yeah, use that. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. So to answer my first question, what are the deep vascular changes in glaucoma? So here we can see, firstly, we should see where we can see the best place, where we can see the deep vascular changes more accurately. The A1 image is an in-face image of an eye, and the optic disc boundary has been demarcated in yellow line. We can also see the peripapillary atrophic zone in this image. In the A2 image, it is demarcated in green line, the peripapillary atrophic zone. In the image below, we can see that the peripapillary atrophic zone is devoid of RPE. So when we looked at the same patient's OCTA scans, choroidal slab, here we can see the deep vascular changes and the choroidal retinal vascular changes more prominent and better than the surrounding area. So in this B2 image, we have demarcated the same. This is the area where the deep vascular changes were studied in glaucoma. So here, this is the choroidal slab of OCTA image of a glaucoma eye, where beta peripapillary atrophic zone is demarcated. And we can see a dark zone in the inferotemporal area in the peripapillary atrophic zone, where it is devoid of choriocapillaries. Though we can see the large blood vessels, it is totally free of capillary vessels. So this area has been defined as microvascular dropout. So microvascular dropout has been defined as a complete loss of choriocapillaries in the localized regions of the peripapillary atrophy. Some papers say that it is deep layer microvascular dropout, and some papers define it as choroidal microvascular dropout, though both are essentially the same. So this is an example of glaucoma eye, where the capillary dropout area, microvascular dropout area is shown in the orange arrow mark, and it is delineated in the yellow boundary in the second image. This can also be quantified. We use an ImageJet software to do the same, so which helps us to quantify the dropout areas. So how can we quantify this dropout areas? We use this ImageJet software, which is an image processing software freely available in Google. As soon as you install the software, you can see this toolbar. So we should import which choroidal slab has to be marked for the dropout area. Then set the scale. Once the scale is set, you have to use the freehand marker and mark the area which has to be measured. For example, we can measure the optic disc area, peripapillary atrophic zone, and the dropout area as seen in C and D image. Then press Ctrl M to measure the area to be measured. Area calculated is displayed in the results dialog box separately. We can also see the angular width of the dropout area, which can be measured using the same software with this tool. So microvascular dropout area has been detected as a true perfusion defect on indocyanine green angiography. Studies have shown that there is a topographic association between the location of microvascular dropout, its structural defects, and the functional defects. So to further see the significance of the microvascular dropout, the peripapillary choroid receives its blood supply from the short posterior ciliary arteries and is located typically next to the lamina tissue and the lamina cribrosa. Hence, the presence of microvascular dropout may indicate a compromised supply to the optic nerve head. This hypoxic damage induced by hypoperfusion at the prelaminar tissue and the lamina cribrosa may restrict the axonal transport of neurotropic factors by releasing the toxic agents. Hence, this can attribute for the progression in glaucoma. So coming to the next question, what is the prevalence of this microvascular dropout, which is a novel biomarker in different types of glaucoma? So Su et al. In a study said that there is 50% of prevalence of microvascular dropout in POAG eyes compared to controls, and POAG eyes with microvascular dropout had more advanced disease and they are more myopic, they had more focal lamina cribrosa defects and thinner choroidal thickness and lower diastolic blood pressure. So when we looked at the prevalence of microvascular dropout in primary angle closure glaucoma, when compared to the severity matched POAG eyes, we found that there is in the lower prevalence of microvascular dropout in PACG eyes compared to POAG eyes. Then this is another study of ours where we looked at choroidal microvascular dropout prevalence in PXF glaucoma compared to POAG in severity matched eyes. So we found here that the prevalence of microvascular dropout in PXFG eyes is significantly lower compared to primary open angle glaucoma eyes. So this is one of the recent study by Joe et al. Who compared peripapillary choroidal microvascular dropout in primary open angle glaucoma, angle closure glaucoma, pseudoexfoliation glaucoma, and found that there is no significant the choroidal microvascular dropout is significantly present in POAG patients in early glaucomas compared to PACG and PXFG, but there is no difference in moderate to severe disease in any type of glaucoma. That is, they are present in all types of glaucoma in moderate to severe disease. So coming to finally we are coming to seeing how is this novel biomarker microvascular dropout associated with progressive structural changes. So this is a study by Park et al. Who saw the association between microvascular dropout and progressive retinal fiber thinning. So in his study, he included 150 POAG eyes which had disc hemorrhage at the he included POAGs of which 82 eyes had disc hemorrhage at baseline and 68 eyes had no disc hemorrhage at baseline. So they all underwent OCTA scans at baseline. When we looked at when they looked at the prevalence of microvascular dropout, they saw that it was higher in disc hemorrhage eyes. That is, 38 out of 82 patients had microvascular dropout, and 20 out of 68 patients had microvascular dropout. In disc hemorrhage eyes, when these eyes were followed up for 4 years, they found that the rate of RNFL thinning was more in eyes with presence of microvascular dropout. So progression was more common in presence of disc hemorrhage compared to absence of disc hemorrhage. And 77% in progressive group, 77% of eyes which progressed in disc hemorrhage eyes had microvascular dropout compared to 10% which was stable. So in eyes with no disc hemorrhage, 50% of eyes which progressed had prevalence of presence of microvascular dropout. Here, this is an example where the patient had recurrent disc hemorrhage with the inferotemporal RNFL defect and disc hemorrhage. And when she was followed up for 5 years, it was progressive RNFL thinning noted in B1 and B2. This is baseline, and this is follow up at 5 years. And there is an image showing microvascular dropout. So presence of disc hemorrhage and microvascular dropout are independently associated with progressive RNFL thinning. Microvascular dropout may provide a biomarker for glaucoma progression. So this is another study where 68 POAG patients were included, and they had microvascular dropout at baseline, and which they were followed up for 2.5 years. 22 patients showed enlargement in the dropout areas, and microvascular dropout enlargement was also associated with progressive RNFL thinning in the POAG eyes. So this is an example from the same case report. So here we can see the progressive RNFL thinning associated with enlarged microvascular dropout, indicating the hyperperfusion. There is a global thinning as well as sectoral thinning of RNFL. So coming to the last part, how is microvascular dropout associated with progressive functional changes? So this Joe et al. In his recent study studied choroidal microvascular dropout as a predictor for progression. So he included 80 open-angle glaucoma eyes in which 40 had microvascular dropout and 40 did not have microvascular dropout at baseline. It was a retrospective study, and they all were followed up for around 3 years. So 70% of eyes who had microvascular dropout had visual field progression. So he concluded that microvascular dropout at baseline, high IOP fluctuation at follow-up visits are the predictors of progression. And the presence of microvascular dropout is a warning sign for poor prognosis. Here are two examples. This is an example from the same study. The microvascular dropout present at the baseline. His baseline visual fields were like this, like superior, nasal, and central visual field defect with a mean deviation of minus 6.03. When followed up for 5 years, there was a faster RNFL progression, which we can see here and here. Both the event and the trend analysis showed progression. And similarly, when the patient who did not have microvascular dropout at baseline, whose visual field defect was also like inferior central defect, inferior arcade paracentral defect, whose mean deviation was minus 5.03, was followed up for 5 years, and there was no progression. It was apparently stable in both event and trend analysis. So to conclude, microvascular dropout is a novel biomarker for glaucoma and OCTA. On OCTA, microvascular dropout has a potential to predict the glaucoma progression, and longitudinal studies are needed to quantitatively assess the deep layer vascular changes over time. Thank you.